866-99 Sirius 866-997-4748. Folks, join us again on our stream, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Make it plain. In studio with me now is the Reverend Charles Williams, the pastor of historic King Solomon Baptist Church in Detroit, president of the Detroit chapter of the National Action Network. As we told you, the National Action Network convention is taking place right now, just up the street, literally. And our brother had me in Detroit on Martin Luther King weekend, and found out when I was there that one of the best places ranked one of the best places to celebrate Martin Luther King weekend is in Detroit. And he had me at his church, historic King Solomon, which where Dr. King spoke, where Malcolm X spoke, Ballot or the Bullet.
Ballot or the Bullet and Message to the Grassroots.
Ballot, Bullet, and Message to the Grassroots. Hold on, let me get your mic on. Is Charles? There we go. Ballot, the Bullet, and Message to the Grassroots.
Ballot or the Bullet and Message to the Grassroots.
Right.
Both of them.
Yeah.
As well as Dr. King, as well as Thurgood Marshall. So many.
Yeah. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, got you up early this morning. But
Man,
but Charles, y'all, he works out. You know, we proud of this brother. He's lost a lot of weight.
Thank you.
And when he picked me up in the airport in Detroit, and I'm not saying it's insulting, I didn't know. I said, "Are you Charles's son? Who are you?" And so he's at the spa every day. So he's telling me normally this time of morning he's out running. So we glad to get him in here.
I'm glad to be here, man. I ran to the station here.
Well, good. Got a little exercise.
A little exercise.
Just up the street. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. It's great to be here, and I want you to know that, you know, just as we were so happy to have you at King Solomon and in Detroit to celebrate Martin Luther King Day, man, I'm even more ecstatic of sitting in this seat, man. I can't believe, man. I watch the folks in this seat, man. You got everybody from rappers and Cardi B and Ruben Studdard and, you know, to the highest political rankings of the nation. So, man, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, brother, I'm honored to have you here. I have a great deal of respect for you and the work that you do. Charles is a good brother, y'all. He does a lot of good work. Lovely family too. How's the family? Wife and baby?
Charlie is here. She's
here.
Charlie's here. She couldn't come to the station. She was still
early.
sleeping. And my wife's here. We had a great time at the convention. But this convention was a turning point for her because for the first time, she just turned up last night at the revival with Dorinda Clark Cole. I mean, we was like, wow, what is getting into this girl? She just running all over the place, dancing,
Really?
enjoying the music.
She got the spirit then. That's great.
That's what I was told. I was told that when a child is having a great time like that, then just let them have a good time because they are in church when they have church.
Yeah, well, that's what just natural.
That's what I hear. So we just let her go, but she was gone. So she was probably dead asleep this morning.
Well, I'm thankful. You know, you folks know I love children. We love to highlight the children of our guests, and sometime we'll have to get Charlie in here and talk to her.
Oh yeah.
But I take credit for introducing the family to Charlie's theme song.
To the Charlie theme song.
There's a fragrance that's here today,
That's
and they
right.
call it Charlie. Y'all remember that commercial? Everybody remembers that. And when they told me her name, I said, "Oh, that's got to be her song." So, no, very, very proud of her, and we're looking forward to great things from her. So, give us an update on what's happening in your neck of the woods. What's going on in Detroit? What's some of the stuff you're dealing with on the ground up there?
We are in a place now where, I mean, we really are spending a lot of time on the election. You know, Detroit is dealing with a lot of gentrification. I know everybody in the national world is saying, "Oh, Detroit's coming back. It's so great. It's so wonderful. This new mayor, Dan Gilbert, it's just the most beautiful thing in the world." I know that's what everybody's saying, but the reality is look, there's some very, very serious issues in Detroit in terms of it being two Detroits. It's still 85% African American. It's still got a poverty rate of 60%. And although we do have new buildings coming up downtown, and we've got a new bridge that's getting ready to build, and a new train that goes through downtown and Midtown, there's a serious disconnect, and as you know, in most cities in America, where you have that concentration of poverty and African Americans, that you still kind of dealing with a hotbed. You could get a Baltimore, you could get a Ferguson, and it's not unrealistic for it to happen. So we are working intently, of course, on trying to make sure we got some elected officials in place this year that are sensitive to the fact that that is an issue. We can't deal with mayors and city councils and state reps and governors that are insensitive to that. And so we got a big governor's race coming up this year. And as you know, Rick Snyder was the man who poisoned Flint, Michigan.
Right.
And so he's termed out. He's gone, but we don't need any Rick Snyder Juniors.
No.
Our state legislature is doing a lot to squeeze out the budgets and revenue sharing to the different urban cities across this Michigan, especially where you have African Americans.
Bless you.
And so we're doing a lot to make sure that we kind of turn this legislature. So we're really, there's always going to be times where we have to jump into action and protest and demonstration and so forth. But really, where our focus is in this time is making sure that we are getting folks to vote, getting folks out to vote, getting folks registered to vote, and prepared to turn this election around.
866-99 Series. Any Detroiters out there, give us a shout. 866-997-4748. Reverend Charles Williams with us. What is going to happen with this governor's race? I can't remember we interviewed one of the candidates at the Women's March anniversary, an Arab brother who's running for governor. I can't think of his name right now. But what's that race shaping up like?
Well, it's unfortunately. And this is Make It Plain.
Yeah, come on.
So Make It Plain, say tell the truth.
Come on.
And unfortunately, you're dealing with some of the same Democrat mess where the labor unions and the so-called executives are trying to fix the election to go behind one or fix support one gubernatorial candidate. That's the unfortunate part of what I see happening in the election, but. There's some good candidates there. I mean, you've got, Gretchen Whitmer, that's the so-called institutional candidate, where labor unions and everybody are backing her up, and you've got Abdul, first Muslim anyway to run for, which I believe that's probably who you.
Yeah, I think that would. Yeah.
Abdul, first Muslim who's running for governor. And then you've got Sharif Thanadar, who's the first Indian who's running for governor. Former businessman, millionaire, spending a lot of money. He's pretty much the one that no one wants to win. But he's spending a lot of money, got a whole lot of money, made his money in engineering or some science tech or something to that effect. And he's formidable. No one is expecting him to win. No one is looking for him to win, wants him to win. Partially because he, out of nowhere, just decided that he would run as a Democrat. So it's kind of concerning whether he's a real Democrat, whether he's not, whether it's just opportunistic, whether he's just put head in his bets on being a good Democrat.
Is any one of these candidates that is standing out to Nan or to the black community, or?
Well, the jury's still out. I'm be honest with you. I will say that the young man Abdul, he certainly has the best message. I'll just put it that way. And as a matter of fact, he's spent a lot of time in New York. Comes out of Columbia University. He's a doctor, or a medical doctor. Does a lot of research. Pretty grassroots guy. I don't know if you remember about, maybe this was 4 or 5 years ago. Detroit was experiencing extreme water shutoffs. He was the health department director at the time in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
And when that was happening, he was the health director, and he was putting out papers and telling the mayor, which was his boss at that time, that we can't shut no more water off because of the different issues,
Okay,
and the different
okay.
viruses,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
different things that come out of that. So he was doing his part,
Okay.
and so you gotta have a lot of respect. He doesn't have the money like the other candidates, doesn't have the institutional backing like the other candidates. He is a full-fledged Muslim. Which for Michigan that could be a problem, not necessarily maybe for Detroit or not for the progressive thinking folks, but obviously Michigan did go Donald Trump last go round, and we do teeter-tot on going Republican and Democrat.
But Michigan has a large Muslim population too.
We do have a large Muslim population, but it's just not enough to get over the hump.
Right.
We'll see. It's a toss up. But what's most important for us, and this is the reason why we're on it, we're not really trying to get into endorsing candidates or anything like that. Of course, NAN doesn't do that itself. But really, we want to make sure that we are prepared with the registered voters, and we've got a message going forth saying, hey, these are our issues, and whoever becomes the governor, whether it's Republican or Democrat, we want you to deal with them.
The Reverend Charles E. Williams, folks, president of NAN chapter in Detroit, pastor of historic.
Actually, I better say I better qualify. I'm Michigan chair because
I'm sorry. I'm
we
just
do
doing
have a Detroit president.
Forgive me.
They get mad at me. They say, man,
you ought to be mad at me. I'm minimizing you, brother. I just got you in Detroit.
That's okay.
But it's all the Michigan. I'm just impressed with Detroit, I swear. It overshadows for me. But he is the Michigan president of the whole state. Did I hear you say that there is a mayoral election in Detroit too?
No, the mayoral election has already happened.
That's it. And so this is the new dude, and everybody thinks he's the.
Oh yeah, for the last 8 years. I mean, it's been like he's the cat's meow. He's so great. I mean, the reality is this. Look, we fought emergency management. We were dead set against taking over a 80% African American city and putting a Republican bureaucrat in place to run the city. I mean, and as you know, and many people, your listeners probably know, I'm sure it was all over Rachel Maddow and MSNBC. Governor Snyder took over every black city in the state of Michigan. No white cities. Let's be clear about this. No white cities,
sure did,
but every black city in the state of Michigan, and stripped the budgets and just did some terrible things. That's how we got Flint, Michigan, and took Detroit into bankruptcy. And when Detroit went into bankruptcy, everybody wanted to create a narrative that this is going to be so great. It's going to be this is the best thing. Look, I live in Detroit. I live in Detroit with pensioners that took a serious hit to their pensions. I mean, you're talking about people who worked all their life and was given a promise that you're going to be able to get this much when you get done. And, all of them are cut. Like I'm talking about, they're not cut to heal, cut to kill, cut. You know what I'm saying? It was really bad. And so now you got these struggling pensioners who still live in Detroit. You got people whose property values have gone way low, and then you've got people whose property values who went real high. Taxes went up with those property values, and now they're struggling to hold on to them because of the gentrification that's happening. As many people probably know, across the nation, it's happening everywhere. It's happening in Philly, it's happening in New York, happening in Brooklyn, and when it happens, it just displaces people, and so. I'm not, and then here's the last piece. And this is also, I say this to say that I don't think we should have to apologize for wanting to make sure that we actually have somebody who's culturally competent to a city that's 80% African American. Unfortunately, we did not have as many good candidates to run against the current mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't able to,
he's white.
Yeah, he is white. Yeah, that's that. We weren't able to, say my mayor's name is Kwame or my mayor's name is Keisha. So our mayor's name is Mike Duggan, which is not a problem, but because it doesn't matter what color you are. At the end of the day, what our concern is are you competent to our culture, and that's not happening, and that is unhelpful when you want to try to keep from having a scenario where a city could turn up like a Ferguson or turn up like a Baltimore, and when you don't care about those who are at the bottom and those who are in that 7.2 mile range,
right.
In downtown and midtown area, it would be like the powers that be are only caring about Manhattan, or the powers that be only caring about the downtown Philadelphia area, so forth. And you see what happens.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Yeah.
Center City, Philadelphia, what did we see happen with the two brothers in the Starbucks? It evades the culture of the whole the policing community, just the community at large. And then you see a place where two brothers are getting profiled in a Starbucks because you ain't supposed to be here because this is the area that we reserve for business folks and white folks.
What well, before we even get into Starbucks, just back to the whole mayoral piece, isn't Detroit still predominantly black?
85%.
Wow.
85%. And
So
we
that has
had a
not
turnout,
changed.
and it has not changed. It's slowly being eroded, though. Let's be clear. It's slowly being eroded, and partially because if you could just mentally think about Detroit. I mean, there's the center city, which is basically downtown and midtown area. It's about 7.2 miles around.
Right.
And then there's the rest of the city. And that's like 20, 30 miles. And the rest of the city, after you get out of that 7.2, you know, there's still a significant amount of blight. There's still a significant, that's where everybody sees the, you know, when they talk about Detroit on the news or nationally, and they like to run through some neighborhoods with some burnout houses and stuff. That's where you get those that area
when they want to get that B roll.
Oh yeah, when they want to get the B roll. I like to call it ruin porn. You know, it's something about national media and ruin porn of Detroit, Doc. They love it.
Ruin porn.
You can go anywhere in the country and see the same amount of burned out houses and abandoned buildings or what have you. And if you go to the right areas. And for some strange reason in Detroit, the narrative is that's what Detroit looks like in total.
Come see it in Detroit.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to me that more and more in a lot of these big cities where we still are in the majority, they're getting white mayors now. You know, and the problems with the cities have not been us, but it's all about design. What about gentrification? Because no Detroit property values went way down.
Right.
Is that changing now, or are property values finally going back up? Is there gentrification?
Well, that's the thing. Even if you know, there was a point in time in Detroit where it didn't matter where you were. African Americans, blacks were there. You've been to the church, King Solomon, in my area all by itself. And there's quite a bit of blight in the area and some empty land or so forth. But in just a matter of 6 months since you've been there,
right?
Developers have put stakes down in the ground. Construction trucks are running through the area.
Right.
They're putting stuff in the ground to, you know, prepare for new housing and so forth. I mean, just since you've been there, literally, and it just caught fire. All of a sudden, I've got real estate agents calling me left and right. I mean, yeah, brokers who's saying, "Hey, man, I got big investors. We want to purchase the building. Can I represent you? Can we come by? Can you give us a walkthrough?" I mean.
Purchase building, do what?
Of course, you know what they want to do. They want to turn it into condos and lofts. We want to turn this. This could be a great loft. This could be a great. We want to develop this strip. This could be a great this, a great that. So it's happening very fast for certain places in the area. But then there are other places where there's nothing happening. But since there's nothing happening and there's divestment of the area. So you talking about, when I say divestment, I mean the police response rate is nil, right? The ambulance rate is nil. So it's almost like I don't want to live in that area and I got to give up this property because the services that I should be getting in this area are slim.
You're not getting right.
So
right.
You got those people who are dissipating. You got people who are getting priced out. I mean, there's a multiplicity of issues, and I'm sure I'm not talking about anything any different than what happens in Brooklyn or what happens in other areas.
We're dealing with the gentrification everywhere.
Yeah, DC.
But this is Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, you know, it's disputable which was more chocolate, DC or Detroit. I mean, it's always been I don't remember when DC was 85%.
Yeah.
At the most, I think we might have had 70. or somewhere in that ballpark. 866-99 Sirius. Any Detroiters who want to chime in? Any Michiganders? Well, I don't even know the terms for the residents. Detroiters and
Michiganders.
I know that. See that, Brittany? I know stuff. 25 minutes past the hour. The Reverend Charles Williams. Starbucks. What are we gonna do about that?
This is my take on it.
Okay.
I think the police should be held accountable. The police had a big part in this, and we cannot just excuse them for the sake of going after Starbucks, the city administration. This is the culture that they are promoting. Let's not get it twisted. Starbucks is the easiest target, and obviously Starbucks is making quick and swift moves, and certainly a whole lot of progressive thinking folks who are in the liberal category love to go get our caramel macchiato with soy and light on the sugar, whatever, So they're scared
for too much money.
Yeah, for too much money. Yes. Oh, that'll be $7.99. So what did I get?
Get something to eat for $10. You gonna drink it? Some doggone caffeine.
Some caffeine, right? And hey, but look. I just had some coffee in the XM radio studio, man. It's putting the baristas out of business, though, man. You just press the button.
Yeah, really.
But the truth of the matter is look, I mean, Starbucks just obviously, I think what their response is the right thing. This is a systemic problem with their organization too.
Right.
And I've been in Starbucks, even myself personally, and have noticed or have seen, maybe not them profile someone who I obviously, or you may have obviously believe didn't need to be in there. But if you in Detroit and you at the Starbucks on Woodward Avenue, then, there's a good chance that some of Woodward Avenue's favorites hang out, for the folks who hang out on Woodward Avenue. I just put it that way. Maybe by choice, or maybe because they're forced to, because they live somewhere around under a viaduct or something like that. They come through. We all seen that happen.
Yeah.
And we all seen management, get nervous. And do we think that they always have addressed it the right way? I don't think there's always been addressed the right way. Because I think at the end of the day, somebody come in there and they in a situation where they don't have any money, or they need to use the bathroom. I kind of feel like they should just be able to just say, go ahead, go ahead, use the bathroom. Or here's a cup of coffee, use the bathroom, and you got an hour to hang out for warm up or something to that effect. But the reality is they dealt with it. I think their response was the correct response. I think the next step needs to also be, though, they gotta do something. Philly got to do something about the police attitude, because that is a bad attitude to start systemically to run throughout that city. Got to.
And if I'm Starbucks, even if I don't want brothers up in there hanging out all day like white folks do, some folks white folks take a laptop in there and stay all day. You ain't drinking drinking 8 hours worth of coffee.
Everybody knows that the Starbucks is a coffee / loitering spot.
But see, Starbucks better be thankful. If those cops had showed up and killed those brothers in Starbucks,
it'd have been over.
Starbucks had been finished.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally would be closed today.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't think about.
Right.
Call the cops. As if you don't realize the kind of stuff the cops have been doing all over.
Right.
Those brothers are fortunate they weren't killed. And Starbucks is fortunate they weren't killed in the Starbucks.
Right.
Because they never would have recovered from that.
Right.
And all them people, that little creature comfort, running, spending $30 on a cup of coffee and hanging out in there all day using it. That's something, free internet.
Right.
Y'all, that's what you're paying for.
Right.
Truth be told, you're paying for the internet for people to use for free all day. The purpose of Starbucks is for people to hang out in there all day and use the internet. That's the purpose of it. That's why I was wrong to kick those brothers out.
Right.
That's what everybody did. That's when you are financing, when you pay $8 for a cup of coffee, you are financing the internet for everybody else to go live off of it. But Starbucks, don't be clear. That ain't coffee you paying for.
Right.
That's paying for an internet and electricity for folks to hang out in.
And heat and air and everything else. And it's not, I never been able to hang out in a Starbucks for too long. Actually, I can't study in the Starbucks. It's too much noise.
No, it's too many distractions.
Too much.
I
just
now
end up
I've gone in Starbucks.
people watching.
If I got a layover,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
between meetings or whatever, it's convenient. I ain't gonna lie. You go in there and you can use it and get on the phone, return some emails.
Right.
Now, 9 times out of 10, I will get something because I want something.
Right.
But I tell you what,
What'd you get?
I just drink tea because I don't drink coffee.
Oh,
I drink tea. I don't drink coffee.
teetotaler.
Yeah. So, but no, it's
It's a real issue. But let me tell you, Mark, I think this is an opportunity. All right. And I hope that people are thinking about the opportunities that are there. And it could be a great opportunity to actually start supporting small business coffee shops. This is the time.
black owned coffee shops.
Black owned small business coffee.
We're gonna start doing a show from some of those.
When they
we're gonna put the show on the road.
down, I think they're shutting down on the 28th or the 25th.
29th, 29th, I can't remember. Yeah.
When they shut down on the 29th, that ought to be small business, black business.
Right,
Coffee shop
day.
day.
That's what they are. Everybody else put it. We're almost out of time. Ann's in Detroit. Ann, say good morning to the Reverend. My time is tight, though. Go right ahead, quickly, please, real quick, 30 seconds. Ann, are you there? Ann, is it? I'm sorry, Amir. I'm sorry, I can't see this little small screen. Amir.
Hey, how you doing, Mark?
Fine, man. Real quick for me. I'm sorry.
Real quick. Hey, you know what? Look at the disinvestment they made by stealing our tax dollars. Now the police don't live in our city, so that's another tax base going. They destroyed our school system because it's garbage.
Yep.
So that's what's wrong with Detroit. That's what's wrong with every black community in America.
That's right.
Have a good one now.
Thank you, brother. Assalamu alaikum. On Twitter handle?
At the Rev CW.
All right. Instagram?
CEWII.
All right. So follow the Reverend. This is a good brother. Folks, what we're going to do now, and he's going to head back up to me. I'm going to see you up at the convention a little later this afternoon. Try to make it to the minister's luncheon. Curtis Gordon, the uncle of Stephen Clark, he came by yesterday, and he's going to join us in a moment. We're going to hear that interview. The uncle of Stephen Clark. We'll be back. Sirius XM Progress 127 Resistance Radio. Get woke, get ready for impeachment. This is MIP.